This is the disclaimer that I make, that this presentation is meant for educational purpose for you guys only, those who are affected by the lockdown, and it should not be used for any other purpose, copied or posted on any site without the permission of author, that is me. And some of the pictures in the presentation may have been taken from public domain websites or popular books to make the topic easy to understand, and the credit for such pictures remains with the original publisher. All right, this is the disclaimer. Now, enzyme activity, I told you in the last lecture, very important. These are again very basics of enzymology. So enzyme activity, it is defined as the amount of enzyme protein. So we are assuming that, though I made it clear that this is no longer true, that all enzymes are necessarily proteins. Now we have understood from 1980s onwards that proteins don't have the monopoly over enzymatic activity. Even RNA can have enzyme activity. But having said this, I told you still the great majority of enzymes are proteins. So it is defined as that amount of enzyme protein required to convert 1 micromole of substrate to product per minute at 25 degrees Celsius. I'm making it clear that this particular definition of enzyme activity, you should learn by heart. What is 1 unit of enzyme activity? It is that amount of enzyme protein which is required to convert 1 micromole of substrate to product in a minute's time, 60 seconds at 25 degrees Celsius. This is called as 1 unit of enzyme activity. Okay. So some enzymes may require 10 microgram of protein, to convert substrate, 1 micromole of substrate to product in a minute's time. Some other enzymes may require 20 microgram of protein to convert 1 micromole of substrate to product in a minute's time. Some other enzymes may require still higher amount of protein. Some other enzymes will require still lower amount of protein. So what we require, we need to calculate what is that amount of protein, enzyme protein, which is sufficient to convert 1 micromole of substrate to product in a minute's time. That is called as 1 unit of enzyme activity. And there is one more thing that comes next, is specific activity. This is another way we define specific activity. It is the number of these kinds of units we just defined above, which are present in 1 milligram of enzyme protein, For example, let's say 1 unit of enzyme activity as per this definition is, say, 40 microgram. Okay, that means 40 microgram of enzyme protein is required to convert 1 micromole of substrate into product in a minute's time. Okay, so what will be the specific activity of this enzyme? So 40 microgram protein is 1 unit. So therefore, how many these kinds of units? These units will be there in a milligram protein. 1 milligram, you understand, 1 milligram is equal to 1000 microgram. 1000 microgram. So 1000 divided by 40. 40 is the 1 unit of enzyme activity. So it will be how much? 25. 25 will be the specific activity of that particular enzyme. So these two definitions are very, very important, and you must remember, you must learn them. All right. Now I told you enzymes, some enzymes, they require only that protein structure for the activity. Only their protein structure is sufficient for their biological activity. Okay. They don't require any additional help. But there are enzymes which require a non-protein component, a non-protein part along with the enzyme protein for their biological activity. Please understand, now we have two categories of enzymes. One, they don't require any additional help, any additional factor. Their protein structure only, alone, is sufficient for their biological activity. But there are enzymes which require, besides their protein structure, a non-protein part for their biological activity. So such enzymes, we call them as holoenzymes, and the protein part is called as apoenzyme, and the non-protein part is called as cofactor. is called as cofactor. Okay. So we are talking of those enzymes which require additional help, additional factors for their biological activity, which is usually a non-protein component. So the protein component in such enzyme is called as apoenzyme. The non-protein component is called as cofactor. Okay. And in cofactor, the cofactor can be a metal ion. It can be a metal ion. That additional factor, it can be a metal ion. So enzymes which require metal or metal ions for their activity, they are called as metalloenzymes. They are called as metalloenzymes. I am repeating once again. Enzymes which require metal ions for their biological activity, metal ions, a non-protein component for their biological activity, they are called as metalloenzymes. And some other enzymes may require an organic molecule for their non-protein component for their biological activity. So that organic molecule is called as coenzyme. Okay. So both are non-protein. If it is metal, we call it as metal enzymes. And if it is a coenzyme, if it is an organic molecule, we call it as a coenzyme. When this cofactor, when it is tightly bound, usually this cofactor is loosely bound to the enzyme. But in some cases, some exceptional cases, you can say that this cofactor is tightly bound. Then it is called as, please understand, prosthetic groove. It is called as prosthetic groove. When that cofactor, that non-protein component of the holoenzyme, which is required for the biological activity of the enzyme, when it is very tightly bound to the enzyme, that is very often given the name prosthetic groove. So now in this particular slide, I introduced you a few new terminology, new words: holoenzyme, apoenzyme, cofactor, metalloenzyme, coenzyme, and prosthetic groove. And you must understand each one of them very clearly and right? All right, so let us take some examples of enzymes which require metal ions for their biological activity. Okay, so enzymes which require zinc, or you can say where zinc serves as a non-protein component for the biological activity of the enzyme. Some examples of zinc-containing enzymes are given in this particular table: alcohol dehydrogenase, carbonic anhydrase, carboxypeptidase. These are very popular examples. Okay, these are the names of the enzymes which require zinc as a non-protein component for their biological activity. Enzymes which require magnesium as a non-protein component. Okay, the examples are phosphohydrolase, phosphotransferase. These are again very popular names of the enzymes, very easy to remember. Enzymes which require manganese for their biological activity, example is arginase. Enzymes which require either ferric ion or ferrous ions. Ferric ion or ferrous ion, Fe3 plus or Fe2 plus. Examples are cytochromes, peroxidase, catalase. These are the enzymes which contain either Fe2 plus or Fe3 plus, and it is required, it is essential, it is must for their biological activity. Enzymes which require cupric ion, Cu2 plus, for their biological activity, example is tyrosinase. And enzymes which require potassium ion for their biological activity is pyruvate kinase. So all these enzymes are also called as metalloenzymes because they require metal ions as a non-protein component for their biological activity. These are examples of what? These are examples of metalloenzymes. These are examples of metalloenzymes, right? Now, what do these metal ions do? So metal ions may serve as primary catalytic center. So now you understand, we have already discussed the concept of active site. So enzymes have active sites, which is typically the site where it interacts with, or where they interact with their corresponding substrates. It is also called as substrate binding site. I told you that this active site in majority of the enzyme, it is made up of 2-3 amino acids. Okay, the enzymes will be big molecules, but their active sites are typically made up of only 2 or 3 amino acids. So these metal ions, they may be present at the active site of the enzymes. Yeah, they may be required. They are a part of the active site along with the amino acid. They are also present. We'll take some examples of this when we understand the mechanism of catalysis. So they are present at the active site of the enzyme. These metal ions, they may serve as a bridge between the substrate and the enzyme active site by forming coordinate linkage. What is important in this enzyme catalyzed reaction is that the substrate should come in close vicinity of the enzyme active site. So these metal ions may serve as a bridge by forming coordinate linkage between the substrate and the active site of the enzyme. And that is how they will play a vital role, important role in bringing the substrate in close proximity to the enzyme. And they may also serve as a stabilizing agent, stabilizing the enzyme in their active conformation. Okay, so it is necessary that enzymes remain in their native conformation, in their active conformation, to be biologically active. And these metal ions may help stabilize that biologically active conformation. So these are the 3 possible roles of metal ions in the catalysis. They may be a part of the enzyme active site. So your habit of joining late is not going. People are still joining. It's almost 20 minutes now. Satyam Kudbe joined now. Now some examples of coenzymes. So typically, B complex, vitamin B complex, members of vitamin B complex, they serve as coenzymes. Okay. So for example, NAD, FAD, coenzyme Q, thiamine pyrophosphate is vitamin B1, pyridoxal phosphate is vitamin B6, lipoamide, vitamin B12, coenzyme A. These are all members of vitamin B complex family. And they are known to serve as coenzymes. In many enzymes, you will find that they serve as cofactor. Okay, please understand, when the cofactor is very intimately, very tightly bound to the enzyme, then it is called as a prosthetic group. So there is a minor difference between a cofactor and a prosthetic group. Cofactor, as I told you, are usually loosely bound, but when in some cases they are very tightly bound to the enzyme, okay, they are also called as prosthetic group. So these are some examples of coenzyme, the organic molecule which serve as cofactor. Okay, these are all members of vitamin B complex family.